Well, hello everybody, and welcome to today's episode of the MMA webinar series. Today's subject is Programmatic TV, debunking the myth of Programmatic TV. Hashtag no filter close up. Today's webinar is sponsored by our special member, DataXu, and I'll get into introducing our speaker in just a minute. Before we get started, I'd like to talk a little bit about what's happening with the MMA. As you know, we are a global trade group. We have over 800 member companies from around the world. We represent marketers, agencies, media sellers, technology, and operators. Our purpose is pretty straightforward, to help marketers accelerate the transformation and innovation of marketing through mobile, driving business growth with closer and stronger consumer engagement. We do that by leaning on our 4 pillars: cultivating inspiration, building capability for success, demonstrating measurement and impact, and advocacy. As I said, we have many members from American Express to Walmart, agencies like Group M.
My name is Tellefsen. I'm VP of TV Solutions here at DataXu, and I lead a sort of a cross-functional team of marketers, product managers, and developers focused on building out DataXu's TV-centered solutions. Some quick background on DataXu. Sorry, still more technical difficulties here. Okay, some quick background on DataXu. DataXu's mission from day one has been to make marketing better through data science, to enable the world's leading brands to master marketing ROI. We provide best-in-class decisioning center solutions to address key marketing challenges effectively and efficiently, to understand, engage, and measure. And we're following the same approach for Programmatic TV. So first, let's take a quick look at some TV history. TV is actually almost 100 years old. First TV broadcasts occurred in 1925 in the US and the UK. 1928, the world's first TV station was started in Schenectady, New York. And 75 years ago, the first TV ad for below the watches aired in New York at a reported cost of $9. The 70s and 80s saw the birth and growing success of cable networks and a fledgling new broadcast network called Fox. Fast forward to this decade, and the pace of change is accelerating. New devices, new ways of consuming content, hundreds of channels, hundreds of apps and services. So much change that if you read many of the media headlines on a day other than today, you might think that TV is dead, or that at least traditional TV is dead. Smartphones, tablets, cord cutters, cord nevers, binge watching, Netflix, HBO Go, NFL rating declines. All of these and countless others contribute to a perception that TV is dead or dying, that consumers don't watch TV anymore. We need to recognize that TV as it existed for the first 80 or 90 years has fundamentally changed. But it's not dead, it's been transformed. We are living in a golden age of television content. Not television, but television content. Mad Men, Breaking Bad, Orange is the New Black, Downton Abbey, and countless other shows grab users and keep us glued to our screens, our Hulu or Netflix subscriptions, for entire weekends at a time as we binge watch the shows. Netflix, Amazon, and other companies that were once considered nothing more than pure play content distributors have disrupted broadcast and cable television networks, and with their wildly popular original series. At the same time, television technology providers have ushered in their own golden age. Viewers can choose to watch their favorite shows whenever they want, wherever they want, on whichever device they find most convenient. Consumers no longer think of television as a device. When a consumer says they want to go watch TV, it means something different than it used to. They're thinking about the content itself and not about their TV set. TV has shifted in practice and in mindset away from one specific place or channel or device. So let's take a quick look at some recent data from Nielsen on the spread of TV-enabled technologies and services. 94% of homes have an HD TV. 34% of homes have 4 or more TVs. I'm still astounded when I read some of these stats. 44% of homes have a gaming console like an Xbox or a PlayStation. And the fastest growing segment, 23% of homes with enabled smart TVs, which grew 43% year over year from 2015. And you'll see smartphones and tablets dominate as well, but other statistics show that they don't necessarily dominate media consumption. Smartphones and tablets account for a little more than 2 hours a day of time spent on devices. But as you'll see, live TV in the most recent quarter reported by Nielsen, live TV is holding steady with 4 hours and 31 minutes spent on average by adults, and time-shifted viewing only accounting for 33 minutes for a combined 5 hours, or a little over 5 hours. But when you break that down, sorry, technical difficulties again here. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. However, when we break that down by age group, we see some stark differences. There's less media consumption overall with younger viewers. It climbs quickly as the age groups climb, but we see differences in how they're consuming content. For instance, adults 18 to 24 spent an average of 52 minutes a day on multimedia devices or game consoles, and only 2 hours and 18 minutes watching live TV or time-shifted TV. Adults 25 to 34 spent an hour or more per day watching TV, and the same amount of time on multimedia and game consoles. However, older adults spent far more time, 1 to 4 hours more, on live TV and far less time on multimedia and game consoles. Live, traditional TV remains an incredibly important part of TV consumption, but younger viewers watch less and watch differently. And this speaks to the increasing complexity in the TV ecosystem. For marketers trying to reach these fragmenting audiences across TV, there's a complex ad ecosystem to navigate. National broadcast networks, syndicators who produce content like game shows or talk shows and sell ads on their content, cable and satellite companies who have 2 minutes an hour of ad time on cable networks, the national cable networks themselves who sell the rest of the ads on their channels, and then hundreds of local broadcast stations, each offering local TV ads in their respective geographies. And finally, the newest addition to the mix, the TV-enabled devices, apps, and websites which have content and ads from all of the parties I just mentioned, as well as other notable content and service providers like Netflix or Amazon. The good news is that on top of this complexity is a growing amount of viewership data that's being collected. Gone are the days of only having the Nielsen meters and paper diaries to track TV consumption. Today, virtually every smart TV that's sold has the ability to track what content's being watched. Virtually every digital cable or satellite set-top that's in consumers' homes are able to track content viewership. The connected or mobile devices we use are all able to track and report on the content we're watching. And increasingly, that data is being made available to marketers in an anonymous fashion for measurement, analytics, and targeting. So what does all of this add up to? It's a lot of new realities that need to be addressed. For advertisers, again, more technical difficulties. The accelerating pace of technology presents new and groundbreaking ways to reach and engage consumers. And enter programmatic TV. And the industry is sort of centered around a definition for programmatic TV that reads as follows, as you can see on your screen. TV inventory that is planned, bought, and sold on impressions using audience data and software automation. Programmatic TV is still in its infancy, and confusion remains around the unique benefits and opportunities programmatic TV offers to advertisers, the new terms and definitions associated with the space, and the challenges that this nascent channel will face moving forward. But what can marketers expect from programmatic TV? What have we been finding as we work with our advertisers and marketers and clients? Well, advertisers can for the first time in a long time, or first time ever around TV, take an audience-first approach, focusing on their first-party audience data, the third-party audience data that most resonates for their activities, and apply those to TV regardless of the device. Increased efficiency, reaching their intended audiences in a more targetable way and reducing waste. Unified audience reach, so leveraging new data sources and analytic capabilities to control messaging across channel and create new ways to advertise on TV, from retargeting to storytelling, sequential ads and storytelling. And then being able to measure beyond GRPs and take not just impressions and CPMs, but measuring sort of true reach and tying activity back to sales outcomes and website activity and purchase behavior, and sort of a lot of the digital analytics and consumer insights that we've become accustomed to in the digital world. I wanted to share some research that IAB published last year, speaking with marketers who have run programmatic TV campaigns successfully, and what aspects or what objectives they found were sort of best met by, or were met as part of their campaigns through programmatic TV. So better targeting capabilities, 33%, increased consumer engagement, incremental reach, increased brand awareness, cost efficiency, and better ROI metrics, and a host of others which were too numerous to sort of list on one slide. And what does all of this translate to from a market potential standpoint? Rapid expected growth. This year, the programmatic TV spending is expected to be just under $1 billion. We'll have to wait a few months and sort of see where that lands as a final number. But growth of almost 3x into next year, and all the way up to $11.5 billion by 2019, where it accounts for 16% of all TV advertising spend is expected to be through programmatic TV. And then another almost $6 billion on programmatic TV globally, or the rest of the world. So exciting times ahead. Now, one of the things we wanted to talk about was, and we'll sort of layer this in throughout, I'll layer this in sort of throughout the conversation, is bringing digital data to TV. All of the rich data and analytics that have been accumulated on cookies and devices and desktops and browser behavior and things like that over time, and how that can be applied to TV. So to start with, what do we do with it today on the digital world? And I think this is probably ground that's sort of well understood by everyone listening in, but wanted to cover it. Today, we have information on the devices and the browsers and sort of all of the various digital touch points for consumers. I may know certain information from an iPhone, like locations and online behavior, and different information on my laptop, like net worth or residence and past purchase behavior. On the digital side, we use device graphs to combine this. Using deterministic and probabilistic techniques, we can link these devices into a graph. And now this data is unified, and you can increase your reach and leverage data from either device to target the same individual on any of their devices. The TV data in the digital graph has different requirements and some challenges. TV data typically lacks identifiers like device ID or even an IP address, depending on what TV data we're talking about. There can be privacy implications and how and to what degree you can link TV viewing data to online behaviors. And finally, TV data is almost always at the household level as opposed to the individual level, which poses other challenges. And we'll get into some of how we're dealing with that at DataXu in some later slides. Next, we wanted to cover off on sort of 3 types or flavors of programmatic TV offerings. And these aren't specific to DataXu, but are sort of 3 aspects of programmatic TV that the ecosystem is working with marketers on. So we're going to talk about connected TV, addressable TV, and then programmatic linear TV. First, connected TV. And I think this should be well known or understood by folks, but so this is TV advertising delivered by over-the-top devices or smart TV sets connected to the internet. So over-the-top devices, that's Roku boxes, that's Chromecast, Apple TVs. It can be a game console like an Xbox or a PlayStation Vue. Your smart TVs, it's the Samsung TVs or the Sony TVs or the Vizio TVs that you buy in stores and bring home that have apps either built in or downloadable as part of the user experience. And these apps are things like Hulu or Netflix or HBO Go or Crackle or Tubi TV popcorn flicks, and hundreds of other apps that are available for download, all surfacing TV content with a TV-like ad experience in not all of them, but most of them or some of them. The advantages around connected TV, you know, it's a 100% viewable environment. It's fraud-free. It has extremely high completion rates that far surpass what we typically see in online video or certainly mobile video. We talked before about bridging digital data and TV data. For connected TV, we aggregate data using household algorithms that allow us to match a connected TV to the tablets, browsers, and smartphones that belong to the same household, and then link the audience data that we have on those devices, then enabling us to take all of the rich digital data that we've accumulated and that marketers have around their consumers on their digital devices and using those to target them on the connected TV content that they're watching. The benefits of connected TV for advertisers: one-to-one targeting of your ads and reaching lighter TV watchers or cord cutters, real-time execution and impression-by-impression decisions with frequency control across devices, and all the reporting and insights available on digital today. And a quick, pardon me, more technical weirdness here. A quick case study that we ran earlier this year with a financial services company, just really highlighting sort of the ability to reach a broad audience, high degree of viewability, really high video completion rates, and I did not have available, unfortunately, the additional analytics around ROI on this. But switching to addressable TV. This is TV advertising delivered via set-tops in individually selected households using first or third-party data for targeting. This is one-to-one targeting on live TV or video-on-demand content. It's available today in over 45 million homes from cable and satellite TV providers like Dish, DirecTV, Comcast, Cablevision, Verizon, and they're using specially designed technology to preload TV ads onto set-tops that are then dynamic, and those TV ads are then dynamically played in those targeted homes during live TV instead of the traditional TV ads that everyone else sees. So myself and my neighbor, each watching the same TV channel at the same time, see a different TV ad specifically targeted to our households based on whatever targeting attributes the marketer was using. And again, coming back to sort of digital data and how we bridge that into addressable TV. In this case, it's a little more challenging because the targeting is happening within the confines of the cable or satellite operator systems. Advertisers can use the data available from the addressable TV providers, and that can work well. However, we found a more powerful approach is to leverage an advertiser's first-party data like website visitation and current or prospective customer lists and selected third-party data to then build an audience that can be extended and modeled for addressable TV targeting. This then allows for a common audience across addressable TV providers and the ability to use the same audience when targeting on other channels like connected TV or online video. Benefits of addressable TV. Again, one-to-one targeting of your ads to your intended audience on live TV. Greater efficiency from eliminating waste that comes from traditional TV advertising. Improved measurement and attribution where advertisers can get campaign analytics that directly tie exposure to their addressable TV ad to things like product purchase or online activity. And finally, the ability to run cross-device campaigns that utilize a common audience targeted across addressable TV and online and connected or mobile or whatever the additional channel happens to be. Also wanted to show another case study. This is an auto manufacturer. The objective was to drive sales, online activity, and branding. They had a budget of $1.2 million. The campaign ran for 1 month across 2 addressable TV providers. Target universe was 1.7 million households, and the audience that was constructed focused on retargeting for website visitors, auto intenders, and then some very specifically selected third-party data sources that were specifically focused on the auto brands that were being marketed here. And what were the results? Using a control panel, or sort of an exposed and controlled panel, the campaign had a 14% lift in online activity, so that's visitation to the brand's website, and a 15% increase in car sales. And these are not, so this is a representative example of what we've seen with an auto, but we've run a number of campaigns across a range of automotive clients and have seen very similar results around addressable TV. Really, and the power here being able to sort of tie back the analytics of specifically exposed homes that saw the brand's ads, and then be able to marry that up with auto purchase day behavior, auto purchase data, website activity, and other digital indicators to sort of put together a true sort of ROI picture around the addressable TV campaign. And then to also leverage other data from or other ad exposure data from other digital campaigns and weave a sort of a cohesive picture together around that. Last, we wanted to sort of cover off on, I wanted to cover off on programmatic linear. And so programmatic linear this is traditional TV. Traditional TV ads that air that are targeted not to a specific household, but to groups of household or to many households in whatever geography the ad is airing. And I'll go into more detail on this in a second. But where the word programmatic, or the programmatic piece comes in here, is using TV viewership data to inform the buying of the linear TV campaigns. Tying that TV viewership data together with first-party data or third-party data, and then building up and doing a ton of analysis and analytics to then generate an index or list of what are all the networks, the channels, the programs, the times of day, the days of week, and the geographies where that target audience can be found in the highest concentrations. And then using automated platforms and automated buying systems to then execute that media plan in a programmatic way, and typically buying on an impression or a CPM basis, but not always. But the key thing here around programmatic linear is the use of that TV viewing data married with first-party data, third-party data, and then the analytics on the front end to help inform or drive what the resulting activation plan will be. What programs, what networks, what channels, what specific day parts can that audience be found in the highest concentrations? The challenge here from a bridging sort of the digital world and the TV world is the TV data is often panel-based, so it's not complete, and we have to do modeling and linking between those data sets in order to get an appropriate match, and then a lot of modeling and analytics to then get an appropriate amount of data back that can then inform the analytics that then help generate the list of networks and programs where the audience can be found. Benefits of programmatic linear TV: accuracy, or I should say improved accuracy. So using robust TV viewing data provides better accuracy around where a marketer's audience can be found and where they're actually reached on the resulting campaign. Improved reach. So instead of sort of not blindly, but sort of traditional media where you're buying a group of programs, or not a group of programs, but a network or a family of networks, and some specific day parts, the more precise that you can be in your selection of where your ad's going to run, with an eye towards finding the highest concentrations of your target audience and knowing where those concentrations exist. It provides the ability to extend reach and ideally better plan and control for frequency exposure across that audience and expand that audience farther out. Flexibility around campaign optimization and based on actual ad exposure as the campaign goes on, and then learning. So complementing the basic GRP reporting with digital traffic analysis and audience insights, and we're going to show an example of that in just a moment. And what's here is a result of a case study we ran, that DataXu ran with an enterprise technology company. And this one was this was an interesting one. And we were trying to reach the client was trying to reach small, medium business owners across a number of DMAs. The digital audience and the resulting analytics looked at realistically hundreds of thousands of different programs across a number of DMAs, and then identified the few hundred programs and channels and times of day where that small medium business owner small medium business owner was most likely to be found on linear TV, and then using an automated buying platform and supply integrations, executing a campaign that was specifically tailored to finding that audience, and then using online measurements, or measuring website visitation tied back to the exposed audience and when and where the TV ads ran. What we found is that we had a 5x or 545% increase in daily web traffic over just running a digital-only campaign. And when compared to the national average, all activity outside of the target DMAs, there was a 15x increase in the average daily traffic. And then anecdotally from the local markets, from the local DMAs, anecdotal data coming back around increased and unusual in-store activity from customers interested in the product or service being marketed. So a little inartfully described there by me, but an example of the power and the potential around linear TV and advanced targeting, and then placement through automated buying platforms to run a more highly targeted linear TV campaign on behalf of a marketer. And I have finished a little bit early here, so if anyone can actually hear me, it would be great. We can hear. Okay.
Yeah. Thanks, Tor. Let me pose a few questions that came in from the audience, and thank you for that insightful presentation. First of all, one of our members has asked, what's the reach potential of these three different programmatic solutions? OTT versus addressable versus linear, from a programmatic standpoint. What's the reach potential?
Yeah, sure. No, great question. So we should break it down. So the reach potential, and I'll go in order of ascending order of reach potential. At the lowest end, and unfortunately, I don't have hard numbers at hand around connected TV. Okay. But so there we are certainly talking about a subset of the national population. Enabled and connected homes and usage there. The recent numbers I've seen, are anywhere from 25 to 40% of U.S. pop, but I could be wrong on that, and I don't have a source to quote on that. But that number is growing. If you think about the growing prevalence of smart TVs and connected devices enabled with them, that number is only going to climb, especially as more and more of the content providers and the proliferation of TV everywhere apps, and not just Netflix and things like that, but Hulu and Crackle, and the discovery goes, and as all of the cable networks begin to expand and push and make their content available in this space. Addressable TV, this one's a little bit easier, and here we'll talk about potential reach as opposed to actual reach. So the potential reach is about 45 million homes. And there's a specific list of cable or satellite operators that have enabled this service, with many more coming. Sort of the public ones that DataXu works with are Verizon, Cablevision, Comcast, DirecTV, and Dish Networks. And there's a host more coming. But I did mention the potential reach versus actual. So potential is the number of homes enabled with the service, or that have the service enabled on their set-tops. And that number is, like I said before, is about 45 million, maybe a little bit higher.
One second.
Yeah.
Hold on 1 second, Tor. When you were presenting, you mentioned two things. One, that this addressable TV inventory was in the on-demand portion, or was it also in live TV?
It's primarily in live TV.
Okay, so it's not the on-demand advertising.
And again, it's a little bit depends on which cable operator we're talking about. Comcast has a robust offering around video on demand in this area for addressable TV, and the others have to my knowledge, have focused on live TV or linear TV addressable.
Okay. I interrupted you, so I think you were about to finish up on linear.
To finish up on addressable, and then linear, the reach there is really national. It's every TV-enabled home that receives a national broadcast signal or a cable network or cable networks. There is programmatic linear TV inventory is available across the spectrum of TV ad TV ad suppliers. So you can get programmatic TV inventory from the national broadcasters by working directly with them. Virtually every cable network, virtually every cable operator, and virtually every, and I don't know the actual number here, but most or the majority of local broadcast stations all have in linear TV ad inventory available in a programmatic fashion. There are differences across them with regards to how targetable you can get, and how what I call sort of how prescriptive you can get in your selection of that inventory. But the reach for programmatic linear is really every TV-enabled home in the U.S.
Is there a supply-side platform approach that's emerging here? Meaning, you have certain supply-side partners that you deal with?
We have, fortunately and unfortunately, I'd say we have a number of supply-side partners that we work with, and I use both sides of the coin there, because the good news is that there's lots of partners, and there's lots of partners working with lots of folks on the supply side, which is good. It creates competition, it forces innovation, and that's all good for the industry and the ecosystem. On the bad side is you have lots of different partners, and we don't yet have in programmatic TV, especially on programmatic linear, we don't have standardization yet for how we interact and how we transact, and what are the currencies and the buying mechanisms and the discovery mechanisms for what supply is available. So because there are many participants on the supply side, each taking different approaches, and the industry not yet having arrived at sort of a common approach, that creates complexity. Now, complexity, is not necessarily a good thing, but the good news here is that there's lots of participants in the ecosystem and active work across the industry to arrive at or drive towards standardization.
Okay. Well, with standardization still looming, would the OpenRTB spec be one pathway to establishing some of these standards?
I'd say it's a pathway.
Okay.
But the reality of and I think that many elements of OpenRTB will be borrowed, but there are some fundamental differences, especially there are some fundamental differences around TV from the digital side. And this is really focused more on the addressable TV and the linear TV side, where today, not yet, the capability does not yet exist for real-time decisioning on an impression by impression basis. And so this is partly where I'm actually not a big fan of the term programmatic TV. I prefer advanced TV as a more sort of generic moniker for what the industry is working on, because programmatic is sort of a loaded term that means different things or implies different things to different people that may not all hold true in the TV world. And this is a very long-winded answer to your question, Leo, to the question that was posed, Leo. But I think OpenRTB helps, and a lot of the people who are involved in the creation and the ongoing evolution of RTB are also involved in industry discussions around a TV standard for buying and selling in a standardized way. But there's still work to be done there.
Okay, so a couple of good questions regarding minimum spend. Is there a minimum spend one should think about in terms of coming into a programmatic TV marketplace? And is there creative limitations or only certain kind of creative units that can be used?
So creative units are typically, so let's take that in reverse order. So on the creative specifications, there are some, typically I would say that the same creative that has been put together for online video campaigns can be repurposed for TV. There might need to be some, slightly different video spec and things like that, but the content itself or saved in a slightly different format. But generally speaking, all of the content that we see being executed across programmatic TV, be it connected or addressable or linear, are the same content that they're utilizing for online video campaigns and mobile video campaigns and things like that. Just, saved in a different format and slightly different spec, and sometimes you need to have a slate at the front and things like that. With regards to minimums, which I think was the leading question there. The answer is it depends. For connected TV executing through a platform like DataXu's, the minimums are small, measured in tens of thousands of dollars, if not even less. The minimums in other channels like addressable TV or linear TV, there the minimums are more a function of what the supply partners, and this is really more a function on the addressable TV side, what are sort of the minimum campaign sizes that would be contemplated or entertained by the cable operator or the satellite operators who are enabling addressable TV. And one of the challenges there is that for on their side is that they are taking TV ads that are being broadcast into an entire geographic region and transforming them into an addressable ad. And when they do that, it means that there has to be enough scale within the audience that's being targeted and around the campaign itself in order to have all of that planning and orchestration through their systems make economic sense. So there are minimums around addressable TV. I characterize them as the sort of low hundreds of thousands of dollars, and then scaling up from there. Typically, the advertisers that we see or that I've experienced transacting or working on addressable TV tend to be larger national TV advertisers, and so those minimums don't tend to sort of come into play there, or have not in my experience, have not been of concern. On the linear TV side, you can actually run, and here I'd say the minimums are more a function of what does the advertiser wish to accomplish. If we are looking at, and it's really about what are the objectives, what's the right, what's the word I'm looking for here, sort of level of the where it will air geographically. There are different price points for national TV inventory versus local or regional TV inventory, and that there can imply some minimums. And then additionally, it's what degree of analytics and targeting is required, because that then entails deeper work by companies like DataXu and others for the sort of the targeting and the analytics that might imply some minimums. So we've run campaigns as small as $50,000, and we've run campaigns as large as many hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Great. Okay. Let me ask one final question before I wrap up with some of the MMA stuff. But programmatic marketplaces in digital started, one, because the technology was there and publishers had a scads of inventory that they wanted to sell, and programmatic enabled that to happen. And of course, the first kind of inventory that was put in the programmatic marketplaces was secondary or tertiary inventory, not necessarily premium. Is a similar phenomena happening in programmatic TV, that this is either excess or undervalued inventory, or is it a different kettle of fish?
That's a great question, and one that is that I have found to be highly debated. My experience, and I've been doing this, I helped build a programmatic TV platform almost 10 years ago, before anyone wanted one, needed one, or thought there was value in one. And we worked across the spectrum of the national, the local, cable, and doing the same today. Not today from a supply side or a supply side like I was doing back then, but on the buy side. But my experience has been across that 10 years of working in this is that there is highly valued, fantastic inventory available programmatically. The reality is, for cable operators or local broadcast stations or even cable networks, that the sheer tonnage of inventory that's available can't always be accommodated on a direct sales basis. So it's not about what's remnant or left over. It's of the myriad of ad options that they had across time and channel, they're not always able to sell it all. Additionally, by layering in targeting and data, where the advertisers and the marketers are able to sort of identify and value where they are best able to reach their target audience, my experience has been is that often results in a value to the market or the advertiser that in many ways times exceeds what the supplier was able to where they were able to value the ad themselves on a direct sale basis. The way of saying is that by layering in data and targeting in that environment, it actually oftentimes raises the rates that the supply side is actually able to get for their ads, with both sides sort of winning there. Marketers reaching the audience they want at a price point that makes sense for them and valuing their audience, and the supply side is actually getting greater yield there.
Good. Okay, look at Tor. Thanks very much for this presentation. I just want to let the people in the audience know that there's a host of questions that have been answered that Tor and his team will review and get back to you as appropriate. So thank you for posing your questions. Thanks for hanging in here. We had a nice turnout today, Tor. This is very, very interesting and useful information, so thank you for that. But before we close, I want to thank you once more, Tor, and then let the audience know that there are things that we're constantly doing. We run over 20 events a year, including about 40 webinars. The next 3 webinars are coming up quickly. There's one tomorrow and there's 2 next week. We have events last week in Istanbul, and we have one at the end of the month in Singapore. And if you are a member of the MMA, you can take a seat at our table and join any of our programs. We have everything from attribution to mobile native to mobile shopper marketing, and recently we just started mobile games. So if you are a member, please feel free to sign in and get on one of those programs. But if you're not, regardless, you can participate in the conversation and you can get great at mobile. We have social channels that you can hook up with. We have depth of information, our case study hub and the mobile marketing playbook. Everybody can access our guidance reports and our benchmarks, and of course the webinar library, where this will appear shortly, is also available for public consumption. So thanks once again to Tor. Thank you to the audience for hanging in there, and thank you all, and have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.